RUINER is a cyberpunk top-down shooter developed by RYZEN Games and published by Devolver Digital. The game was released on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. It was even released on Linux platform if it is something you fancy. RUINER is something I regret not playing earlier because I really love the cyberpunk genre. And yes, I'm also one of those who pre-ordered Cyberpunk 2077 only to be disappointed by it. Like all those women who decided to cop off with me only to be disappointed in under 5 minutes. But on a serious note, RUINER is an amazing game with a pretty impressive storyline. For the purpose of this video, I will be playing the game on my Potato PC, which is powered by AMD Ryzen 5 1600, 32GB of RAM, and ASUS GeForce 1070 Turbo with 8GB of VRAM. Oh, and for the record, I managed to max out all sliders for my playthrough. Awesome. Now as usual, I need to talk about the storyline for a bit, so if you don't want that to be spoiled, jump to the timestamp shown on the screen right now. You have been warned. The game opens with our nameless protagonist waking up and being told by someone named Wizard to go and kill Boss, a faceless figure in charge of a mega corporation called Heaven. The first chapter serves as a prologue where you get to learn the ropes and how to fight and defend. At the end of the level, just when you're about to go through some blast doors to kill Boss, you are hacked by a woman simply known as Her, who frees you from the Wizard's control. You wake up in a semi-open world called Jancock, where a mechanic has fixed you. Her makes contact with you again, who I must mention here refers to you as Puppy, and tells you that you were hacked and your brother has been kidnapped. From there on in, you're on a quest to find your brother and kill 3 targets: Wizard, Traffic King, and the 6 sisters called Geminus. After taking these 3 out, you come face to face with the boss himself and learn the truth. Turns out you had no brother to begin with. You are nothing more than a bucket of spare parts for the boss to take from if he ever gets wounded. The Big Brother program was written by Her to motivate you to take on the Wizard, Traffic King, and Geminus, who were planning to take over Heaven by using you to take out the boss. The female hacker managed to use their own weapon against them. That would explain why you were always referred to as Puppy, because like a young pup, you get to learn different tricks, you learn to stay loyal, and you learn to do as you are told to do. It is then the final piece of the mystery unfolds where you realize that Her is not really a human being, but something else. She hacked you and wrote the Big Brother program to get the boss to trust her. She took out the 3 traitors just so she could get you to get close to the boss. Now that you are in Heaven and the boss is within your reach, you are then tasked to take him out. At the end, you have a choice to either bash his skull in or hack his brain. If you skip the spoilers and jump straight here, I want to say that I kinda like the story. I wish the ending was not that ambiguous and it was obvious that the developers would probably want to make a sequel or something, but for the game itself, I feel like the ending should have been fleshed out a bit more. But on a broader spectrum, the universe of RUINER is truly remarkable. The game has some interesting lore like the Eye, how Heaven operates, and many other details that really show that the developers are working with a story-rich universe which they can possibly explore later. The gameplay of RUINER is pretty fast-paced and I loved it. It's a top-down shooter where you start off with a lead pipe as a melee weapon, and you later pick up your trusty pistol called RUINER with infinite ammo. You can pick up other weapons along the course of your journey like grenade launchers, sonic guns, flamethrowers, ice rays, and many more. Honestly, I lost count, but I do remember all of them being fun to use. Aside from attack, you will also have access to the dash ability. Using dash, you can quickly move out of harm's way at the press of a button. Holding down the dash button will allow you to set up dash points as the world around you slows down, Max Payne style. It is an ability you need to master quick because the game can be quite unforgiving at times. The enemies don't mess around and the game has a habit of throwing at you everything it could offer at the time. Mastering the dashing ability not only gives you an edge over the competition but also allows you to anticipate your enemy movement because they have dash ability too. I must admit here, at first I was dashing around like an idiot, but as the game progressed it became second nature. The enemies were pretty hard as nails in the game, but I had a lot of fun with boss battles. They were challenging and always made me reconsider my approach and even made me question what kind of upgrade I was bringing to the battle. Which is a good thing because easier boss battles should not exist, and if you're one of those who want easy mode in Dark Souls, well, you need to hit the gym and start working out because life is not fair and you need to keep trying over and over to better yourself. But honestly, RUINER is a kind of game that rewards you for your hard work. My character was weak at the start of the game, but by the end, I felt like a badass just mowing down enemies like they were nothing. The game has a nice roster of enemies too, from enemies that explode when they get close to you, to ninja style enemies that lunge at you, brain dead enemies that are easy to kill but keep spawning until you burn the pile of corpses they're crawling out of, and many more. You will also get these machines dropping in the levels which will drain your health or energy points, and some of these drop mid-boss battles. Speaking of which, when playing the game you will notice that you will have only 4 health points to begin with, which will quickly disappear if you're not careful. But you also have energy points that power your special abilities like creating a shield that bullets bounce off from, creating stun and explosive grenades, healing barriers that replenish your health, and so on. You can upgrade these abilities using in-game currency called karma points. Karma points can be earned by performing special RUINER executions on enemies when they are stunned. They are brutal to watch, satisfying to perform, and they put your character in god mode when you are performing the execution. Performing a RUINER execution will also temporarily enhance your character's movement speed, and I think it increases your damage too, but for a limited time.
Awesome.
Aside from RUINER executions, you can get karma points from opening boxes in levels, talking to some NPCs in Bangkok, more on that in a bit, or by activating the weapon grinder that drops in after every intense encounter. The weapon grinder gets rid of all the weapons in that section, but in return gives you some karma points and weapons with improved stats. What I didn't like about the combat was the ranking system at the end of every encounter. Usually games reward you for being good at combat in the form of points that you can use to upgrade your character. RUINER doesn't do that. I lost count of the amount of times I got S rankings at the end of battles, but it never rewarded me with any sort of karma that I could use to upgrade my abilities. It kind of defeats the whole idea.
Awesome.
Better ranks encourage players to be good at the game, just so they can get more points that they can use to upgrade or compete in global scoring board. RUINER doesn't do any of that. It doesn't reward you for being good at the game. It just gives you a summary of how you played that one section, how much karma you gained in that one encounter, and how many times you died. You're not getting any rewards for S rankings or anything. It rendered the whole rank system useless. It did not serve any purpose aside from being flashy. One of the biggest complaints I had from Dead Nation Apocalypse Edition, another top-down shooter that I enjoyed, was that it felt repetitive. There was no break from the action. RUINER offers players a nice break from all the killings you commit by throwing you in a semi-open section of Bangkok that you can explore. As a fan of animes like Akira and Ghost in the Shell, I must say this section was the highlight of the game for me, which is a weird thing to say considering I enjoyed the combat in the game. But there was something so satisfying to walk down the streets of Bangkok as people carried out their day-to-day activities around you. I mean, this part right here, coupled with the music playing in the back, reminded me of the scene from Ghost in the Shell where Major walks around the city. In short, this section is very well crafted. The lighting effects are awesome, the environment feels vibrant and full of life. You can also interact with certain NPCs that will flesh out the lore of the game, and some will offer you extra karma points for defeating certain enemies in storyline missions. You don't need to interact with them, but if you choose to do so, you will get more points to level up your character.
Awesome.
But keep one thing in mind, this semi-open Jangkok only serves as a way to break up the action, to try and stop the game from becoming repetitive. It is not a distraction from the storyline missions. That is why the side quests are storyline specific. For example, there's a man in the city that give you extra karma points for killing high profile enemies, and these enemies are bosses you encounter when playing the storyline missions. So that's easy to complete. The only side mission which I thought was not related to the storyline was the one where you need to hack some cats to stop Heaven from securing information on the residents of Jangkok, and my reward for getting rid of the kitty problem in the city was access to special weapon stashes when playing storyline missions. I'm a bit torn with this section, really. Don't get me wrong, I love the developers made this level for players to explore and take in the world of Jangkok as much as they want to. But I feel like they should have added a bit more to this section. Maybe some more side missions where you hack, I don't know, surveillance cameras or something. Or maybe a simple fetch quest. I feel like the developers created this living, breathing Jangkok section with nothing for me to do than to just walk around and take the atmosphere in. Don't get me wrong, I did that, but I just wish they added a bit more content to it. RYZEN Games did add an arena mode to the game which you can access from Jangkok or the main menu, but if you choose to access the arena from Jangkok and decide to quit, you will have to go to the main menu and then continue from your last save. Frankly speaking, that kinda sucks. I do have to give props to the developers for making the game visually stunning. Everything from 2D art to the level design, the game looks impressive and packs a solid punch. Developed in Unreal Engine, the game is stunning to look at with impressive lighting effects all the way through. And don't even get me started on the sound design. The sound effects and the soundtrack both were top notch. There were some issues here and there, like this typo in one section and the game getting confused as to what I want to interact with, but aside from that, I had no issue with the game.
Come on, boys.
Aside from the story mode, you can also access the arena mode from the main menu, where you fight wave after wave of enemies, or speedrun, where you need to complete the story missions as quickly as possible. You can also play specific levels if you want. But honestly, RUINER is a story-driven game. Once you have finished the game and experienced the storyline, there is very little to go back to. I mean, yeah, you can play to get the rest of your upgrades, but that's just about it. This is why I feel the developers could have added a bit more to the city of Jangkok, like hidden secret missions or something for players to look around and play. It would have just added a little bit more to the game's content, but you know what, it is what it is.
Awesome.
So what do I think of RUINER? I think it's a solid top-down shooter with an amazing art style, captivating soundtrack, a rich lore, and a pretty decent story. Would I recommend it? Yes, absolutely. RUINER is available to play on Steam, GOG, Epic Game Store, Xbox Marketplace, and PlayStation Store, and even on Switch. Surprisingly, there were some price differences which I feel like I need to go through. On PC, the game costs $14.99. On PlayStation Store, the game is $15.99. On Xbox Marketplace, RUINER costs $16.74, which will allow you to play it on PC and Xbox One. But the most expensive version has to be the Nintendo Switch, retailing at almost £18. Why does it cost so much on Switch? I have no idea. I can look into it, but I'm not really that bothered.
Awesome.
Anyways, that's enough from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. I'm a part-time YouTuber, so your engagement with the channel will help me a lot in the long run. Peace out, angels, and stay awesome.